Hi, I'm Shelley Maurer,
And I'm Cher Emmerich. Welcome to Life Lessons from Pickleball.
where we engage with pickleball players from around the world about life on and off the court.
Thanks for joining us. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Life Lessons from Pickleball. We are super excited to have as our guest today Max Manthou, a pro pickleball player. Max, you are an amazing athlete. You captained your high school state champion basketball team, qualified for the collegiate nationals in table tennis and poker, and you played tennis at the University of Washington.
And you served in the Peace Corps in Indonesia.
Very
You
cool.
speak 4 languages, and you received your master's degree in anthropology from Illinois State University.
Yeah,
You're,
I've done some things.
yeah,
You've done a few things.
a few things. And now you're a professional pickleball player from Tacoma for the SoCal Hard Eights.
Yes, go Hard
Nice.
Eights. Yeah, of
Go Hard
MLP.
Eights. Yep, MLP. And you've written a book called A Pickleball Gospel.
Yeah.
But before we get into pickleball, tell us about the Peace Corps. I'm really interested in hearing about your Peace Corps experience.
Oh wow. It was life changing, as I think most people probably experience in the Peace Corps. I was in Indonesia. I lived in a small village with a wonderful family for over 2 years, and I was surrounded by rice fields. I had about 100 geckos on my wall, and
Eating all the mosquitoes.
so many mosquitoes. Yeah, I actually killed 37 in one dinner. I tested that out once. And then I taught English at a local high school. I had about 800 students.
Wow.
Yeah, they gave me every student in the school. Yeah. And I also coached basketball. We did mural painting. I had a wonderful time. And then came back, and actually that's when that's when pickleball was introduced to me. It was like one of the first days back, and I was watching a Seattle Seahawks game, and then on a commercial break, they had the Pickleball Central commercial, which was wild because before I left, like 3 years earlier, pickleball wasn't a thing. In my mind, I'm sure, no, it definitely existed, but not to be on like a big advertisement like that. And so then that was an indicator that things had changed when I was gone. And then I got a call from my friend like a few days later, like, hey, let's go play. So I transitioned right out of Peace Corps into pickleball.
So you are just the perfect combination of every sport to be an amazing pickleball player. I mean, the tennis gives you the positioning on the court and working with the racket, and then the poker gives you the strategic mind that we all know we need a lot of strategy for pickleball, and then the table tennis for the fast hands. You just have the perfect combination.
I think you're probably over flattering me, but I appreciate that. And no doubt the range of activities that I've done in my life has kind of coalesced, I think, in pickleball. It's really, really helped. Yeah.
And even your anthropology background. So say a little bit more about your fascination with anthropology.
Oh, I fell in love with anthropology kind of later. I mean, I didn't take a single class in college, but going into the Peace Corps, that's such a anthropological experience. I kind of fell into it and realized that was the right thing for me. There was actually a class I took in high school that led me to the Peace Corps that was about the history of the Baltic region randomly. And so I liked how the idea of studying something where the people seem to be in between. In that case, they're in between Germany and they're in between Russia and throughout history. And so I wanted to go to kind of another marginal area of the world, I thought. And so then Peace Corps was perfect. I figured out that there are no marginal areas in the world, and it's actually great to look from the outside in. And then I guess now I'm in a sport that's similar like that, where it's kind of new and on the margins at first, but now it's central to so many of our lives.
Fascinating. And I imagine that as an anthropologist, and as a poker player, you're really good at reading people. Is that true?
um, I, I mean, sure, I get a good read. Yeah. Yeah, especially from like body language and those types of things. Yeah. Um, I've in tennis actually. It's funny. I had to do a lot more of that. I had to be very cerebral. I was a little small. I'm probably still short, even in pickleball. Probably the smallest player in MLP. Um, Either me or another player named Jaume. But
How tall are you?
I'm 5'8". So I'm thinking of the
And that,
males. Yeah,
ah,
yeah, of the males.
okay.
But
Okay.
anyway, in tennis, it was a bigger disadvantage because the court is so much bigger, and
Mm.
the equipment is just heavier, and you have to be really strong to be able to whip the ball around. So I had to think of ways. I couldn't just overpower people, so I had to think of ways to sort of manufacture points. But in pickleball, actually, I can turn my brain off just a bit because now that reach disadvantage and the lightness of everything and the smallness of everything is within my capabilities. So I can just kind of try to bully if I need to.
That's so
Yeah,
fun. That's so fun.
yeah.
So tell us about your trajectory. So you were introduced to pickleball when you came back from the Peace Corps,
hmm
and that was when?
Yeah, so I came back from the Peace Corps in 2018. I did a
Okay.
lot of traveling as well. So I got settled again in about 2019 in Tacoma. And then my friend Zach Ayat, one of my best friends, he called me up and was like, yo, meet me at the 24-hour fitness, to play with a group I've been playing with, and I'll introduce you to the sport. And I was like, sure, why not? And then I showed up, and I guess one of the first life lessons hit me immediately from pickleball in that meeting. One of the players that he plays with, one of his very good friends, his name is Glen Peterson, who you guys might know. He's in the area. Anyway, he invented the swiftnet, one of the portable nets. He's just
Oh,
a all-time pickleball guy. Great human being. Anyway, he was in his 60s when I first met him, and we were playing, and I figured that I think just my youth and my very recent tennis experience that I would be able to sort of dominate the game after maybe an hour or so when I got things figured out. Um, but I don't remember winning a game that whole day. And he specifically, there was one shot where we were all at the kitchen, and my partner dinked cross court to him, and he took the ball out of the air, so he didn't let it bounce, and he did some sort of voodoo with like a flick that came right at me, and I didn't even touch it. Like I think I squealed, and I felt really helpless. Like I was like, "Whoa, what was that?" And so it was really interesting for me. It was very motivating because I was thinking, "Wow, if someone in their 60s can do this to me right now, there's something special here in this sport." So it was like, don't really judge a book by its cover. I guess would be the
Right.
lesson. And I've come across that lesson a few times in other sports, especially in table tennis. That happens too. But this
hmm
was the starkest, I think. And the structure of pickleball really leads to all different types of body styles and athleticisms and ages and male, female. It doesn't really matter. It really feels like anyone could really succeed and anyone could surprise you. I had to get over that helplessness, that feeling of helplessness, and figure out why that was happening, and learn more about the community.
Did you get a coach? I mean, when did you get serious about it?
Well, that was 2019 when I was talking about, but I came in and out of the sport. I ended up getting back into it for my master's research at Illinois State, and that was I started that project in 2022. That's really when I got back into it. Was playing, several days a week. But I didn't, well, you're asking about a coach. That would be this year, really, really recently.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
Yeah. So in March, I got asked to play with my current partner, Eric Lang. And he's from Portland, and he's also a pro. He's on my team on the SoCal Hard Eights. And he asked me to play with him in an APP event in Miami. And until that point, I had really just taken pickleball not lightly, but just I'd been playing very much for fun, playing mostly with all my local friends, not worried about results too much. But then when he asked, and it kind of was someone, I think the first time where I would be playing with someone my level, I couldn't really pass it up, and we did really well, better than I expected. And then just the timing of that with the MLP draft was like a week later. And so I ended up getting drafted kind of out of nowhere. It was a big surprise. And so then I had to make a decision about my life, whether to go to do my doctorate, because I got in about the same day as the draft.
Oh my gosh.
And, yeah, so which I couldn't have imagined declining, like even a month earlier. But I ended up thinking this was a sort of a singular opportunity, and so I went with it. And then knowing Eric, like he had a really good community down in Portland, led by my current coach now. So I now have a coach, Travis Rude. And so I started going down to Vancouver. I still do it about twice a week. I drive. It's a lot of driving. Yeah. But yeah, we go down to Travis's sort of his dojo it's at his property. He has 3 courts there, and he runs sort of a team practice for sort of the higher level players in that area. And it's been game changing for me to really take it seriously since April. Like my game has improved. I think Travis offers so many insights that like I hadn't thought of before. So my mind has expanded in the game. So anyway, that's been an absolute blessing and a reason why I think I'm doing as well as I am.
That's very exciting.
Yeah. What are some of the improvements?
What are the insights?
Give me some of those insights.
Okay, well, it's Travis. Well, so I don't know if anyone has seen me play. I'm hyper aggressive, and going back to what I said about my tennis days, where I was sort of small and had to be really cerebral, while I was sort of being bullied most of the time, and I had to just sort of survive because everyone's like 6'4", hitting the ball so hard. So I almost have my alter ego come out in pickle, where I'm hyper aggressive as a player. I'm just sort of done with being bullied. I want to bully a little bit. That's probably the wrong word to use, but you know what I mean.
But with compassion.
Yeah.
I know. We know.
Yeah, just very aggressive. I take the attack to the other team very early. So Travis tells me when I first met him, I was doing that a lot, and I still am. But he was saying, okay, you're sort of a bar fighter, and I want to take you out of the bar and into the boxing ring. So the biggest change that he has done for me is finding ways to attack that always with just direct speed, direct power, being very creative with sort of off-speed attacks, still putting pressure on the other players, but doing things with a lot of bend instead of straight line. So it's really changed the way I even hold the paddle, like on attack on speed up balls. I used to be kind of like a tennis player, kind of like to the side here, but now I hit it mostly down so that I can kind of so that I can hold the ball maybe to the last second, and they're not really sure where it's going. Yeah, and then also attacking and then playing on the next one, or that's really the put away ball. It's not necessarily the first speed up; it's like a setup ball where we call it the 1, and then they hit is the 2, and then I'm on the 3. Those are the numbers we use. So hitting 1s to set up 3s.
Awesome.
Anyway, I know that's a lot of info there, but
no, that's good.
Love the info. Love it.
Yeah. So he's helped me a lot. I'm not quite a boxer yet, but I'm definitely in the sparring. I'm sparring.
Yeah, you're halfway out of the bar.
Yes, I'm halfway out of the bar. Exactly.
1 foot in, 1 foot out. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
So you have a fascinating nickname. Purple Jesus.
Yes. Right here.
So how in the world did that nickname come about?
Yeah, funny you ask. So that was a college nickname. Near the end of my college years. I went to University of Washington, and I played tennis there. So Washington's purple. And because I played, they gave me so much gear. It was just an overwhelming amount of gear. So I was wearing purple all the time, even not when I was playing. Became my favorite color. I had a few years after, I actually had hair. This is long now, but I had hair down to my butt, basically.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, really long. That was Peace Corps days. I actually kind of looked a little bit like, what you might think Jesus looked like.
What the artists have rendered.
Right. And then my favorite movie is The Big Lebowski. So there's a character in there that's sort of their rival. They're on a bowling team, and the rival bowling guy is John Turturro's the actor, and he's wearing all purple, and his name is Jesus. He's the purple Jesus, and he's my favorite character. Anyway, so these three things sort of coalesced into my nickname. But then in pickleball, before you guys started, I think there was an old tournament website. If you wanted to register, it was called pickleballtournaments.com. And in that website, if you wanted to register for a tournament, you had to have a profile. And in the profile, it had a space for nickname. So in the current website, Pickleball Brackets, which most people use, there isn't that. But in the old website, there was. And so when I first registered for a tournament, I wrote Purple Jesus here in this profile. Just is the last nickname I had, and I didn't think anyone would see it. It wasn't. Well, what turns out that they don't tell you this, but if you wrote something, it would replace your name. There was no indicator of that. You know, I'm totally new, so I didn't. And so I show up to my first tournament, and they call on the loudspeaker like "Purple Jesus report." And I was shocked. And then of course everyone else was surprised, and they thought it was funny, and
everyone's looking around. Who the heck is Purple Jesus?
Yeah. And people liked it, and I thought it was funny, and I didn't want to go change it, so it ended up sort of just sticking. And then when I switched to Brackets, I just don't have a name anymore. I just write that as my real name because it's sort of become me. In Illinois, when I was doing my master's, a lot of players actually didn't know my real name. They would just call me usually PJ or Purple or something like that. Yeah. So yeah, an accident at first. Now I embrace it.
It's kind of like how this all evolved for you. Even pickleball, it just kind of organically evolved. That's very cool.
Yeah.
Well, and we're lucky that our Life Lessons logo is purple because you said, "Okay, I'll be on your podcast."
That was the first thing I noticed.
Purple.
Yeah.
And it's my favorite color, so it's all good.
Yeah.
So even on your book, you have Purple Jesus identified.
Yeah. Well, for a long time, I thought if I ever published, I played with the idea in my mind of publishing anonymously. I'm very poor at self-promotion, so actually the nickname kind of helps with that. But I like the idea of publish. I guess I don't know. When I read a lot of science, I feel like sometimes there's a gap between the researcher and the reader, where like sort of they're this privileged person of knowledge. But I feel like a lot of science, it really, if you can do it, if you put your mind to it, it could be anyone, you know. So I kind of liked the idea of maybe publishing anonymously. And then I also am a huge fan of music and like especially hip hop. And stage
Iron
names.
Maiden.
Sorry.
Iron Maiden.
Iron Maiden's my all-time favorite band. Yeah, definitely. But just the idea of stage names, I think, interests me. I think they're fun. I think actually, like academics could benefit from a little more flair, a little more personality like that. Anyway, I just decided that since I am Purple Jesus or PJ in pickleball, the book's about pickleball. That's my author name.
And Jesus is a very common name.
Jesus, yes, and I speak Spanish, so
there you go. I don't know how you say purple in Spanish, but
there are actually two words depending on which area of the world you're in.
Yeah. Do you know how to say it?
Morado would be in most of the world, or it'd be purpura. So I guess
since you speak 4 languages, you were able to answer that. What are your 4 languages, just as an aside?
Oh well, Indonesian. Language is a big hobby of mine. I actually do it on the side just because I'm interested in it. Yeah, I do a lot of Duolingo. But Indonesian I had to learn because I was living there. I also learned a second language, a local tribal language called Sundanese. That everyone was speaking. So they would only use Indonesian in formal context. So when we were just hanging out, having fun, I suddenly didn't know what people were saying. So I had to learn that. And then I learned Spanish. I did a lot of traveling right after college. My undergrad. I traveled through South America, been to Peru a bunch of times. I was in Mexico, Uruguay, Bolivia. So I learned just traveling. I took it in high school, and then I ended up getting a job during COVID, working with. I was a social worker with undocumented boys from Central America.
Oh,
Yeah, and so they
oh,
only really spoke Spanish, so I had to speak Spanish all day for that job. So anyway, those are the
fantastic.
4 main ones. But I've also studied French. I did the full program on Duolingo and Swahili. And I'm
What? Oh,
currently learning Russian because, well, it's an interest of mine, but also 2 of my Hard Eights teammates, the 2 women, Irina and Yana, are both from Russia. So I actually have fun just saying little sentences with them and checking my grammar and all that stuff and giving them nicknames. So
that
yeah.
is so brilliant. Oh my gosh. I can't even imagine just learning languages for fun, but good for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, I
Okay, so
know.
back to your book. So tell us about a pickleball gospel.
Yeah. So first of all, it started as my master's thesis at Illinois State.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. I was when I wanted to do my PhD. When I ended up doing a master's, my original thought was to go to Indonesia and study badminton. Uh,
Hmm.
but then master's, it's a little less feasible to get funding for that kind of thing. So I stayed local, and pickleball was just blowing up. I mean, that was actually I probably started researching right when you guys started. It sounds like the
Yeah,
timeline.
a year ago, March or so.
Well, like
Yeah.
last year, right? And yeah,
Yeah.
Uh-huh,
right.
last year.
Also a few months before that, but yeah, I mean, it was exploding all over the U.S. and with my racket experience, and it's really fun, right? So like, why not? Like, why
Oh,
not have fun while
yeah.
you're researching? Yeah, so I put all those skills together, and that was my thesis. And then my advisor, James Stanlaw, he advised me to adapt it because it's topical, and I guess he thought it was at least quality enough, for publishing. So.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, with his encouragement, I decided to sort of change some of the language and move things around, make it more accessible to a public audience. And then that's taken several months. I'm working with a publisher, both of whom I was connected by a pickleball. I was connected to them. This is Made for Success Publishing. I was connected to them by a pickleball player, and they're both. And the
Yep.
2 people that I'm most in contact with are pickleball enthusiasts. So it was a great match. Brian and Alice. So it's been fun because they actually have a pickleball court at their like company headquarters, and we've played.
Yes.
So it's really been just again like a serendipitous project that has evolved, and the
Yeah.
right people have come in at the right time. Yeah, so now it's coming out on October 8th, I believe, is when it's on Amazon right now. For
So
Yeah.
by
pre-order.
the time this airs, it will definitely be out and
Oh,
about.
all
So
right.
people can go right to it, and we'll include a link to your book in the text about this episode so people can find you. But
Sure.
also, it's a pickleball
A
gospel.
pickleball
Yep.
gospel. Yes.
I have my copy pre-ordered
Oh,
already.
no
Yep.
way.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you
Yeah,
so
yeah.
much.
So tell us a little about it. Just a quick
Yeah.
synopsis.
So,
Yeah.
well, it started as an academic project, and in anthropology, we do ethnographies usually, which is it's basically, well, first to start, just because not everyone knows what anthropology is. I was a sociology undergrad, and in sociology, we tend to look at big data, big observations. I sort of what I would say is look at the beach, and then you try to say something about that from the beach about the grain of sand. So you sort of go up to down usually. Anthropology is sort of the inverse of that, where someone will spend a lot of time in a small community or a subgroup. So you kind of look at the grain of sand, and then after that, you try to say something about the beach.
Interesting.
So it's an ethnography where I spent a lot of time, about 8 months. I mean, I've been in the community for longer than that, but my actual research period was about 8 months, being in all spaces where pickleball was played, in mostly in Illinois and in Washington, and a few other places. And so then what I try to do is represent that experience in a way that's authentic, and then also try to present the pickleball community from an insider perspective. So like readers who don't know anything about pickleball can really hopefully get a very good understanding of what pickleball is all about.
Perfect.
Just because I'm sort of an insider outsider. And so, yeah. And then finally, I'm also trying to argue something. So that's the about the beach part, yeah. So extrapolating out from my experience and saying something deeper. And for me, well, I mean, I looked at pickleball and I kind of identify 4 main pillars of it. The first one is that it is competitive. It is a sport. And the competitive part, I really enjoy, and I find that most people do as well. But it isn't the only thing. And it's I have 3 other pillars I would say are, I mean, anyone who spends time in pickleball for even a few minutes can see how social it is, right? How the community is so strong. So yeah, that's the another major pillar. And then the reason why it's so strong too is that I think pickleball is playful. There's an element. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a plastic wiffle ball. We have paddles. And we're all adults, but we're playing like children, sort of.
Right.
Yeah, it brings us back, right, to when times were simpler and we were just having fun with life. So wait, what are they saying? Oh, so right. So
and
it's
cooperative.
Right. So it's competitive, but it's also a community. It's also playful. So anyway, these things kind of, they seem opposite, but I find that there's a real unity in them. And so I find that there's a lot of cooperative elements in pickleball. With what I was saying. Oh, my fault. I skipped one. Fun. Sorry, the 4th pillar is fun.
Oh, that was the 4th
Joy.
pillar?
Sorry, I'm stumbling here. My fault.
Yes.
Cool.
The 4th pillar is fun. And I know that seems silly to identify because, I mean, sports are supposed to be fun. But people have commented on pickleball's fun factor more than any sport I've ever been a part of. It's almost, I actually say it's fun-dicting. It's a little bit
I like that.
Yeah, it's a little bit like you can't almost stop because it's so much fun. Like the amount of times that I've heard people say, at the end of a practice session or a fun session, let's play one more. You want to do one more? And then like that happens like 6 more times. You'll finish one more and then let's go again. And then sure enough, you're there like an hour later than you wanted to be. Yeah, so it's almost like you can't stop because it's that much fun, and it's kind of like being a gambler almost at a roulette wheel where you just can't step away. But it's more healthy than that. But anyway, so yeah, sorry. It's competitive, but it's playful. It's fun. It's such a strong community, and so you have the competitive side, and you have this sort of cooperative side too, where you're connecting with other human beings. And so what I say in my book is I combine those 2 words. And I talk a lot about co-opetition.
Oh, right. I like that.
So competition, cooperation, co-opetition. And I talk about co-opetition as I think being a function of really all sports. It's just that it seems to really stand out in pickleball.
It's interesting as you're talking. When Cher and I were developing our podcast, we came up with 3 pillars. Ours were joy, community, and empowerment.
Right.
And as you're talking, I see that your co-opetition is our empowerment.
Yes,
because it's that competitive cooperation that is very empowering.
Perfect.
Right?
Oh yeah.
So that is really cool.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I certainly feel empowered by pickleball in that way because it's changed the way I've looked at sports. I've realized that there's such a mutual dependence on each other. And this will go in ways that maybe aren't obvious. I mean, of course, you have your teammate, so you're dependent on them, like other sports. Or a lot of people play pickleball for the social benefits, right? Not even, maybe not a competitive like tournament player. So you depend on others just for that connection and that community and, or to get enjoyment out of your life. There's so many things, right? Where you need others for it. But also I even think the opponent themselves. Like in a very competitive setting, I feel as though we all want to play our best.
Yeah.
And we imagine that that's sort of something within us. And I agree, of course, it's within you, because who else could it be within? But
Right.
I really don't feel like our best is something that we can do alone. I mean, I don't think I could just bring it out of myself. It absolutely requires someone else to be on that other side to sort of
Good
extract it.
point. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if both of us are doing that, it also means that we are of some sort of a equal. There's an equality of play. I mean, you can't, if you have an opponent who's much lower or much higher, this sort of breaks down. But finding someone that's of equal level to you, and so that you're both extracting the best out of each other, it then creates like a moment that's bigger than both of you. And by doing that, both of you gain.
So true.
Anyway, so I've really shifted to sort of seeing sports as moments, not to win, but like to create together and grow together in ways that I guess maybe I wasn't mature enough to see before.
That's the co-opetition. I love that word.
Yep.
Have you coined it? I mean, have you
I didn't
trademarked
coin
it?
it. It's actually a concept. It's a concept in business since about 1996 that there have been cooperative studies, but it's almost strictly in business. And it usually talks about how like maybe you have a competing corporation, but then you both have like a third party who supplies the two of you. And so there are times when you actually want to cooperate with your competitor and vis-a-vis this third party, so that both of you, so both of you are benefiting. Anyway, that's kind of how it started in business. And it's really exploded in that field in the last maybe 10 years, studies of that. And then I had a friend, actually someone who's in the book who I interview, there's 13 individuals who I did tons of interviews with, and all of their opinions are scattered throughout the book. But he actually, in our interview, brought this word up because I was explaining to him, like, I have this idea about these competing forces, but that are really part of one unity, this cooperation and this competition, but I'm not sure how to express it. I don't really have the right wording. And he's like, "Oh yeah, it sounds like co-opetition." And I was like,
You're like, hey,
I've never heard that word before, and I never thought to put those together. Like, wow, like we're, And so actually, I in a footnote, I give him credit because without that like moment of eureka, the book would have been very different, and I think lesser for it. And actually, academics talk about how when we do research, like again, it isn't just like someone like myself knowing stuff. It's a process where you learn directly with who you're researching or who you're researching with, and it's a becoming.
Becoming.
So yeah, hopefully my book reflects that becoming, where I learn things along the way and just hope to share them with others. But yeah, co-opetition. I do feel as though it's the first application, maybe formally, in sport, although others have talked about it as well. I know that in my book, I write about a guy named Darrell Waltrip. He's a NASCAR champion who has been on record talking about co-opetition in his sport. A lot of time when you're, I think like in racing where you draft behind someone else.
Yeah.
This could be in bike racing or motor car racing. You're in a way you are cooperating with your competitors, and so I think that's where it came from. From that end. But yeah, this is. I'm not saying it's. So I didn't invent the term. I wasn't the first to study it in an academic setting, or the first to use it in sport, but maybe one of the first formal applications of it in a non-business setting. Yeah.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. And it's how does that, would you say, apply in a life lesson perspective, co-opetition?
Mutual dependence. Like I think I said that earlier. Yeah, I mean, it's cliche to say the world's interconnected. We're all connected. And I believe that. We're all even the same material. We're all from stardust, and those kind of things. But no, yeah, the fact that your improvement as a player Your fulfillment and satisfaction that you get from the sport is all so dependent on your opponent and on your teammates and who you're with. Yeah, I mean, it's sort of proven to me that we're not alone in this world. And anything we think we do alone, like even saying like I won a tournament, like seems false at a very basic level, because like there's no way I could have done that without myriad of efforts that were put into me, almost like in some sort of metaphysical way, by my coaches, by my other, fellow training partners, by my opponents, like in the best matches I was ever a part of. Like, I don't know, I'm sort of a depository of all those efforts and energies. So to even say like I won anything, it seems sort of disingenuous. Even though, of course, like I had to put effort in, and there's hard work and all that stuff. I'm not trying to negate that, but
right.
But yeah, we're interconnected. We depend on each other.
Big time. So true. On and off the court. Yeah. One of the things I like before tournaments, when it's just for play, typically we switch off our partners. So of the four of us, sometimes we're opponents and sometimes we're partners. And so that also breaks down the barriers when we're playing with other people. It's like, okay, you were my opponent a minute ago. Now you're my partner.
Right.
I'm really glad you have that shot that you put against me last time.
Right. You can all grow together. Right.
Yeah, exactly. We all grow. Now we say we won the tournament. We don't say I won the tournament.
Hey, that's great. That's great. I like that. And so you have two others. Is it four of you that are you referring to specifically, or?
No, just in general.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, we have a huge pickleball community that we are a part of, and socially and on the court, and
So you're having a lot of people are making this mental grammatical switch where they're talking about we and like.
No, I'm just suggesting that. I thought your point was really good.
No,
you made a really good point.
Got it.
It's like, we don't do anything just us.
Right.
It's always with other people.
Yes.
With the wind at our back, if nothing more. So I love that idea.
Cheers. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, my gosh, we could talk with you for hours. But we do want to just reiterate that you've written this book called A Pickleball Gospel, and it will be available by the time this airs. And we hope that everybody gets their copy. We will, for sure. And we're going to be really enjoying watching your continued professional involvement with pickleball.
All right.
And thank you for bringing heart to it, which is such a big part of pickleball anyway, but just who you are, Max, Purple Jesus, PJ. It's really lovely. It's been really lovely talking with you today and having your heart expressed in such lovely ways. And the fact that you learn language just for fun and then you're able to communicate with all these people from all over the world, that's inspiring too.
Much love.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for being here today. And we want to thank everybody else. Thank you so much for being a part of this show. Get that book. Follow Max, Purple Jesus. And we look forward to our conversation next week. Bye-bye.
Cheers, y'all.
If you love our podcast, we'd be so grateful if you'd take a few seconds to follow or subscribe to Life Lessons from Pickleball. This ensures you'll never miss an episode and helps us continue these wonderful conversations.
On Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen, go to the show page and tap the follow button in the top right corner. And on YouTube, click the subscribe button under any of the episodes.
Thanks so much. Hope to see you on the court.